everybody, I'm TomVasel, and welcome to 5 really fast game reviews here of 5 just various different games with different opinions on them. So we're going to get started, but before we start, I should mention, if you want to see short reviews, we split these up into short reviews later, and that's on our Dice Tower Encore channel, so if you just want to see them by themselves. But here they are together. Let's get started. First, we have Kluster. Now, this is not the first time that we have seen this game before. Kluster R&R Games did like a Valentine's game. This is just basically put magnets down, don't let magnets snap into each other. That's kind of the whole game, but I'll show it to you real quick. This game is very simple. You're going to get, these are a bunch of magnets. You're going to split them evenly between the players. On your turn, you simply have to place a magnet somewhere inside here, and without having it touch any other magnets. So that can be kind of, at first, that's easy. If you make magnets hit together like that, then you have to take them in front of you. That was actually pretty bad play. So it gets trickier as you place them. Well, maybe I'm just good at this. But when you get down to these last ones, they get harder and harder to stick in there. And of course, you can always have some major catastrophe act like that. Anyway, the first person to get rid of all their magnets is the winner. Kluster is a very simple game. It's almost a little too easy because until the last 4 or 5 are put in, do things really start snapping, unless you're really bad at it. But it still is pretty fun. They're pretty hefty magnets. This is the kind of game you can bring to grandma's house and just pull out and play with the whole family at Thanksgiving. I don't know that I love it. For me, it's a 6.5. It's close. It's not one that I'm going to want to play all the time, but I get the appeal of this one. I could see this being in a gift shop and a game that people would enjoy. I mean, definitely there's the laughter when Dad puts it in the middle and then it's all, like every magnet snaps. It's hilarious. The only problem is necessarily the winner is not, the winner might just be someone who just got lucky before Dad or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Just silly little fun. That's Kluster. Estranho No Ninho, this is a game from Brazil, and this is a game in which you are given some weird facts. So, for example, what are things taken by astronauts to a space station? A gorilla suit, racquetball rackets, bagpipe, espresso machine, phone book, fake lightsaber, pizza, and Lego. Some of those are true, and, well, at least one of them's false. And that's what this game is about, is like guessing things that are true in the midst of a pile and trying not to hit the wrong one. In this game, each player is going to get 7 egg tokens of their color. So there's various colors in the game. And you're going to put this stack of cards out like this. And so you're going to reveal a card here. So there's all kinds of different cards here. So maybe, for example, we'll use weird yogurt flavors. So some of these are real answers and some are not. So we know up to 3 are not. 1 is definitely incorrect, and it can be 3 that are incorrect. So each player is going to take turns. So weird yogurt flavors. I feel like peanut butter is I'm pretty confident peanut butter. And we just go around the table, and you're placing tokens on an answer. It doesn't matter if someone else has an answer there, but each letter has a limit there. So it's going to be the number of players. So in a 4 to 5 player game, there can only be 3 answers on E. So maybe I pick peanut butter, tequila sounds right. I'm pretty sure bacon's been done. Chocolate and pepper sounds proper. Sesame seeds, I bet that's somewhere. Avocado and corn, I don't think so. And olive oil, I'm afraid to say those are correct. So I'm going to not use all my eggs. Then we turn the card over to see what the answers are. And the only one that was incorrect is C, which is tequila. So since I picked tequila, I can't win this round. Whoever has the most answers but did not get any of the incorrect answers, the strangers in the nest, they're called, will then take one of their eggs and turn it over. They can no longer use that egg, so they'll have 1 fewer egg to use. And the first person to get 4 of their tokens turned over is the winner of the game. I'm not going to show you more answers, but I'll show you. Here's weird ingredients in craft beers, monsters taller than Jason Momoa, ingredients of an Oreo cookie, names for pancakes in different U.S. states, crazy demands of music stars, bizarre things found in fast food items. And then all the cards are double-sided, so you can, you have a bunch of different things that you can play through. The only really negative thing I'll say about this game is the fact that there's only so many cards in the game. There's 100 well, there's 50 cards, but they have 2 sides, so there's 100 of them. So you're going to run out after a while. But I still really enjoyed this game. I'm still giving it a 7 because it is a lot of fun. I really like the concept of knowing that the truth is out there. I mean, really, when you put these out there, people go, they're all false. Like, no, they're not all false. There are some of them that are quite true. And that sort of entertainment, I think, brings it out there. So 100 cards, you probably will go through, 100 facts, you'll probably go through 10, 15 per game. So you have so many games with this. But you could also bring it and not play and just run it with other folks. It's kind of a good icebreaker for parties. So I like this little one. It's enjoyable. Buffet Boss. Who doesn't like going to a buffet? Well, I do. So anyhow, here it is. This is a stacking game. There's a lot of stacking games out there. This is about stacking your plate full of food. Let me show you. There's a bunch of really, really nice food pieces here. Each person is going to get a plate. The food pieces are split into different food groups. So, and the color actually does not necessarily correspond to those, but you can easily tell. You have meat, vegetables, dessert, fruit, and seafood. At the beginning of the game, players are going to take a couple characters. So let's say, for example, I get Fortified Diet and Hangry. Hangry says I get 2 points for having desserts and meat on my plate. And Fortified Diet says I get an extra point for every 4 card. That's worth 4 victory points. So you're going to have a deck here, and this deck is going to be modified by the number of players in the game. And you'll turn over a number of cards plus 1 player. So let's say we're playing a 3-player game. We put these out here. And it's my turn first, and so maybe I'll take the gingerbread man. So I take a gingerbread man, 1 hand, and put him on my plate. Pretty easy. I get to keep the card. The next player picks a card. The next player, the last player, will have 2 cards to pick from, and they can even pick both if they want to. So as you are taking cards, you're stacking stuff. It always must be on the plate and on top of something else. If one piece of food, let's say I'm putting this and it falls off, you pick it up, you blow on it, 5-second rule, and you can put it back. If multiple pieces fall off, then you get to blow on half of them and put those half back. The other ones are gone. And that's going to be basically it. You're trying to build this, and all the pieces that stay on it, and I'm doing very terribly today, all the pieces that stay on are going to be worth points at the end of the game. And once you go through the deck, you will pick one of your 2 cards to score, and whoever has the tallest thing, and you'll use the side of the box here has a little thing to measure. I'm still hungry here, so I need to make my plate higher. Anyway, you add up all the points, whoever has the most is the winner. The inside of the box is garbage. That's where you throw pieces that were not blown off quick enough and you couldn't put back on the plate. One thing I like about Buffet Boss is just how nice those pieces are. They're really well done. With the different art on them, it's silly, stacking your plate with food, but there's also some good decisions to make here. I like the fact that they give you 2 cards, and by the way, there's a little reference card for each that tells you what every person does, so you don't need to pass a rule book around. But you have these cards, and you can score one of them at the end of the game, so you're trying for 2 different things. I'm irrationally pleased about if one piece falls off, blow on it, put it back on. The 5-second rule, I think it's a hilarious note to what actually happens, maybe at buffets. But I just like the concept of this. The only negative thing is that it is pretty hard to stack a lot of pieces on these. You're going to have pieces fall off. I guess that's not a bad thing, but they're like, ooh, look how high you can make the plate. I'm like, who is doing that? But maybe some people are. This one works particularly well with kids, so that's the rating I'm going to give it because I think this is a great game for families and kids in general. So I'm going to give this one a 7, but I'm assuming you're probably playing with kids. Kids are going to enjoy the idea. The food looks good. It stacks well. It's easy to play, and you get to make some interesting decisions. The fact that the person who goes last gets to take both cards is a neat concept. So that's Buffet Boss. Almost Innocent takes place in this really unique kind of world here where one of the characters is a bear and there's other animals. It's kind of fantasy style. And in this game, a crime has been committed, and you are trying to solve this crime. But unlike a lot of games like this, like Clue, it's a cooperative game. Everyone is working together, and everyone has their own solution. So in this case, someone will ask a question. I'm going to answer the question of the person on my left. Let me show you a little bit about how it works. In this game, players are going to play a scenario. There's a whole book of scenarios, and each scenario will have a board that it uses. So this is one of the boards. The boards are going to vary. And it's going to use a certain number of clues. At the beginning, you'll start with 4 decks of clues: crime, evidence, victim, and scene. But you can add offender, and there's more cards that can add it to the deck. A scenario will also give you, depending on the level you want to play, a certain number of these clue tokens and almost innocent tokens that you will have. Each player is going to get their own board, and so you'll mark off anything that cannot be one of the things here. So for example, you'll see I have all these black squares marked off. Then you're going to draw a card from each deck. Now these cards are the solution for the person to my left. So the person to my left is trying to figure out the place, which is the lighthouse. So I'm going to secretly mark that on my board down here. Here we have the croaking guard is the culprit here. So or the victim. So they're over here. I drew spicy tea as my evidence. So spicy tea there. And curse I will put right here. So those are the things that the person next to me is trying to figure out. Each person is going to have a big player shield that you're going to cover your board with. And then players are going to take turns using up one of these tokens. So in a smaller game, you have fewer tokens. So you can use these in different ways. So for example, on my turn, I can say how many of my answers are in row 4 or column C. I can say whatever I want. But whatever one I ask, each person will truthfully, because it's a cooperative game, give an answer to the person on their left, because that's the person. So I say, hey, to the person on my left, you have 2. The person over here says, I have 0. Oh, great. Now I know I don't have anything in that row. Well, that's kind of convenient, because I now know that I don't have these items. So my item is going to be this one, or this one. You can also ask, using the other side of these tokens, and sometimes you can use tokens for either side. Sometimes the scenario decides what side. You can just say something like, is my victim in row 2? Again, whatever question you ask, everybody has to answer. Now, table talk wise, depends on the level of the game. In a normal game, you can say, hey, I found my solution. Once everyone's found their solution, you start reading answers one at a time around the table. If anyone gets one wrong, you spend one of these tokens and you get another shot at it. But once these tokens are gone, you lose if you get them incorrect. Otherwise, if everyone gets the scenarios correct, they win. The game has many different things. It will eventually bring in special player powers. There's clues that can take up more than one spot on the board. There are special clues. There's a lot of different things going on, but that's the basic gist of the game. Almost Innocent starts off as a pretty basic deduction game. It gets more complex as you jump through the scenarios. And you know what? Normally I'm kind of opposed to campaigns. I don't really care about even a campaign here. Here I think you can just jump forward and pick a scenario, and it's kind of a level of difficulty. But at the beginning, it's pretty basic. I do like the idea of how many clues, and what I really enjoy about this game is when you ask questions. Sometimes you're asking a question not so that you can get information, but that you can give information. And I like that a lot. Like in that example I showed, I'll pick that row and say, hey, 2 of your clues are in it. Now everyone else will hopefully get some information, but you're working together. There's not supposed to be a lot of communication between players other than answering the questions and what questions to ask. You can't be like, oh, I really wish I knew about column B, but you can also ask that. And it's really easy to adjust the difficulty by adding or subtracting those tokens, because the more tokens you have, the more questions you can ask. If that gets too easy, bring it down. But they start adding different curveballs. This is a really neat game. I'm very impressed with it. I love the look of it. I like that there's the boards and the everything just seems to work really well. It's not like a greedy, crunchy deduction game like the ones I really love. But honestly, the fact that it's co-op and things means this one's going to make the table. I enjoy it pretty much. That's an 8 out of 10 actually for Almost Innocent. I don't know a ton about monster trucks. This is Bigfoot Roll and Smash, but I do know Bigfoot's one of the most famous, if not the most famous, monster truck in the world. I took my son to a monster truck rally earlier this year, and I just was amazed at all the hype that people had to go watch these things. So I was excited about this game from XYZ Labs. Their last game, Arc Ravels, I thought it's a very nice introductory game about crochet and knitting. That's neat. This one's about monster trucks. That's a great theme. Let's take a look at it. You're going to set up the arena at the beginning of the game, putting various obstacles. Players are going to be, choosing you like draft and you'll place them out. Each player is going to get a truck. So maybe I have Snakebite, or maybe I just have the ultimate one, which I suppose is Bigfoot. So you're going to take whichever truck you have. You're going to get the truck that matches that. And you're going to get a deck of style cards that match your truck also. So one player is going to go first each time, and players are going to take turns. You're going to roll these entirely 2 big dice. And then once you're done rolling the dice, so here I got a 4, 4, 4, and a 3, you can, and a plus here, you can re-roll any number of dice that you want. Now, some of the dice have hazard symbols on them. If you re-roll into these hazard symbols, your opponents are going to be able to place hazard symbols on the board, so you don't want to roll those. These green cards means you get to draw style cards into your hand, like this is a sick trick. And then the numbers are what you're going to be using to build kind of a route that you're going to be placing on the board. So for the next 2 minutes, and the game recommends that you time it, I recommend you time it, you're going to be buying these tiles here. So these tiles, for example, cost 0 to go 1 to 2 forward, 1 to 4 forward costs 2, a 90-degree turn. You can go in either direction, 180s, 360s. You are going to be, each of these has a cost, and you're going to buy these. Since some of them are 0, you're always going to be able to get enough, and you're going to build kind of a route through here. Once you build that route, you're going to pick a spot to start on the board, and then you will follow that route exactly. Now you're trying to score points by these obstacles. If it says by, you need to drive by it. If it says up, you need to put a ramp and jump over them. If it says in, you just need to crush on top of them, or through them, I'm sorry. And if it says on, these are the ones you need to run over. And you can drive all over the place, but you have to follow exactly what you say. Like, for example, this mud here, if I hit it, I'll slide across. I might not have been expecting that. And you can use your cards. So each of the cards will have various things like deja vu, repeat a plan tile, going up. You can use an on as a ramp. So I can use this one as a ramp. Nitro boost. I can add a 1 to 2 move or turn 90 degrees. And then when you're done, you're going to take this board here and you're going to score for each of the obstacles. You'll then add some more obstacles to the board and do it again, and after 2 turns, whoever scores the most wins. By the way, if you mess up an obstacle, and some of them you can mess up, like if you, on one of these ups, you need to jump over it, you just run over it. You shouldn't be running over a helicopter. And on the back here, it shows how all the different things work, the tiles here, and you can keep track of, I guess, from race to race, who wins each race. And whoever has the most points after running through this twice is the winner. So the game kind of runs on these tire dice here, which are too big. And honestly, there's some production things with the game. I do like that they have that snap container and the rule book and everything works well. But these dice, come on, you need to roll these dice. They don't even roll that well, and you're rolling them across the table. Some people might like these dice, but eh. But other than that, I gotta be honest, I really hate everything about this. It doesn't even feel like a game. Because what it is one person at a time is sitting and looking at a puzzle. That's what it is. You have these obstacles out there. You roll dice and get a certain amount of points, which, by the way, I really dislike that mechanism because it means we're all working with the same puzzle, but we have different things. Like you work with the puzzle, but you only get 8 points to work with it. I get 11. That's not fair, and I don't get that. I don't get why this is even in the game. But then I do get those points, and sometimes I get hazards. You re-roll and you get hazards, and it's like, again, not fair. There's weird luck in the game. And then I take 2 minutes, and I sit there, and I think, and everyone else sits at the table like this. The game says, we really recommend you use a timer. No joking, because if you don't, people will take forever. But everyone sits there and waits and waits and waits. The person takes 2 minutes, they build it, then they drive, and it's not even that exciting. They drive, I go forward, I turn. It's like watching one turn in Robo Rally and other programming games for 2-3 minutes, right? Because 2 minutes to program, and it's not going to be really quick. People aren't going to program really fast. They're going to sit there and think. And then the next person goes, and they're going to take a while too, because they're trying to beat the score of the last person. And at the end, it's like, did we play a game or did we? And it doesn't really feel like Monster Truck should be like, oh, look, I jumped over this. Yeah, so did everybody else. It's not that exciting. I was just really disappointed by the Bigfoot Roll and Smash. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10. Nice components, not the box, but most of the components are nice. Interesting idea. I think it will appeal to people like monster truck games, but not for me at all. And that's it, folks. That is 5 quick game reviews. Very, very different games, from eating at a buffet to monster trucks to magnets to deduction. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time on the Dice Tower.